Good evening. I'm Rohit Sharma and welcome to Desi from DC, coming to you every night from heart of Washington. This is where America's power corridor meet India's prime time to break down the political, economic, and global stories that shape both nations live from Washington D.C. From Capitol Hill to Raisina Hill, we connect the dots between what happens here in Washington and how it echoes back home in India. We begin tonight with the big stories of the day. Multiple people shot in DC, National Guard injured. CBI busts Lucknow call center racket targeting US nationals. Houston tornadoes displace families before Thanksgiving. Georgia prosecutor drops Trump election case. Space Force issues first Golden Dome contracts. We begin with breaking news out of Washington, D.C. Just 2 blocks north of White House, multiple peoples have been shot. This unfolded just before 2:30 p.m. today at the 17th Street and I Street in Northwest, right beside the Farragut Square Park, a busy area surrounded by multiple federal buildings and right next to the Farragut West Metro Station. At least 3 people were injured. 2 of the victims are National Guardsmen. One of the victims had to be airlifted by the med-evac helicopter while the other 2 were transported by ambulance. The scene has been secured and the Metropolitan Police Department confirms a suspect is in custody. But the investigation is far from over. Authorities say the suspected shooter is refusing to cooperate and had no identification on him at the time of his arrest. The area around Park has been shut down. Several law enforcement vehicles rushed in moments after the gunfire erupted. Metro Transit Police are now assisting the investigation as well, given the proximity to Farragut West Station, and they are asking commuters to avoid the area. A dramatic moment captured the urgency. US Park Police Eagle 2 helicopter launching from National Mall to evacuate one of the gunshot victims. We're also hearing from the White House. Press Secretary says the White House is aware and actively monitoring this tragic situation. The president has been briefed. A Secret Service spokesperson confirmed 2 National Guards members were involved and at least 1 was stuck and is in critical condition. Earlier today, MPD Chief Mayor Bowser and FBI Chief Kash Patel, along with MPD Chief, addressed the media. Mayor Bowser calling it a targeted shooting. Executive Assistant Chief Jeff Carroll says the 2 injured guardsmen are now being treated at a local hospital. Meanwhile, President Trump, currently at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, posted on Truth Social condemning what he called a barbaric attack. He wrote, "The animal that shot the 2 National Guardsmen will pay a very steep price. God bless our great National Guard and all of our military and law enforcement." FBI Chief Patel says this remains a multi-agency investigation with federal and local teams working to piece together what happened and why. This is a developing story, so stay tuned and follow India Today for continuous updates as new details come in. It was Thanksgiving in 2008. New York was cold, festive, and alive. But inside a small apartment in Manhattan, the TV never switched off. NRIs, much like me in the US, for 3 straight days sat frozen, watching a city we loved, Mumbai, burn. Not metaphorically, literally burn. Mumbai under siege, India under attack. CNN carried it live. Every blast, every plume of smoke, every frame of chaos. And on the faces of American analysts, you could read the confusion, the disbelief, almost a sense of, how's this happening? Because they simply could not understand how it took India 3 days to neutralize just a few gunmen. To them, it looked like a third world response. Slow, confused, unprepared. An intelligence failure of staggering proportions. How could a handful of men sail into a city of 20 million and unleash terror with such chilling ease? And what frustrated me personally more was the language. CNN kept calling them armed gunmen. Gunmen. This wasn't a robbery. This wasn't a street violence. This was a coordinated terrorist attack on one of the world's largest democracy. Then the top Mumbai police officers were killed, one after another. At that point, even Western analysts seemed to give up. And you could sense the exasperation in their coverage. What on earth is happening in India? And for me, watching from New York, it was painful. It was embarrassing. Now, the NRIs understood instantly this was terror. This was 9/11 all over again, just unfolding in slow, brutal motion. And yet, they were baffled at how weak, how scattered the US media coverage was. Sitting there far from home, watching my city gasp for air, that feeling has actually never left me. But here's the deeper problem. The West, and more importantly, Western media, has never truly understood terrorism when it happens in India. 17 years later, nothing has changed. Now look at the Pahalgam attack from April of this year. Instead of questioning Pakistan's role, instead of interrogating decades of state-sponsored terror, Western outlets did what they always do. They platformed Pakistani leaders, allowed them to peddle lies, and almost never challenged them. Instead, they focused on India's retaliation. They revived the same tired red herrings of nuclear escalation, regional instability, as if India has ever threatened a first use. India's nuclear doctrine is clear. No first use, period. But facts don't matter when narratives are built on such double standards. For 3 decades, India has been the primary victim of Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. 3 decades of attacks, of bombs, of shootings, of beheadings, of civilians slaughtered in their homes. And yet, the West still picks and chooses, still refuses to call Pakistan what it is, still hesitates to call terror, terror. Today, as we remember 26/11, let's also remember this. 6 Americans were among the victims. 6 innocent lives lost in a terror attack, plotted across the border and executed on Indian soil. And as someone who watched that horror live on television in New York, I can say this with certainty. Pakistan still sponsors terror. India is still the victim, and the West is still a moot spectator. 17 years have passed, but for India, for the families of the victims, and for anyone who watched Mumbai burn that Thanksgiving, the story is not over. Families in Houston are picking up the pieces tonight after devastating tornadoes ripped through the suburban neighborhoods, leaving a trail of destruction as Americans prepare to celebrate Thanksgiving. A top story, multiple twisters damaged over 100 homes, displaced families during the busiest travel week of the year, and left a 13-year-old boy hiding in a closet as his house shook around him. At least 2 tornadoes tore through the Houston suburbs of Cypress and Clean on Monday, with winds reaching up to 115 miles per hour. The storms uprooted massive trees, scattered debris across neighborhoods, and left homes with roofs torn off and walls damaged. More than 20,000 customers lost power at the height of the storm. Kenny Beck, a 46-year-old teacher, returned to find his family home of 20 years in ruins. Half the roof gone, ceiling collapsed from rain damage, and his garage door sucked inward by tornado's force. For a family like that of Beck's, this Thanksgiving will be spent away from home, grateful to be safe, but facing an uncertain road to recovery. As one local roofer put it, it's very catastrophic for these homeowners. But in true American spirit, communities are already coming together to rebuild one roof, one home, one family at a time. Indian immigrants embraced Thanksgiving by honoring American tradition while adding their own cultural flavors. Turkey with ginger and chili, saffron mashed potatoes, cardamom pumpkin pie. They don't dilute the holiday, they deepen it, weaving their heritage into America's fabric. A Thanksgiving with a Delhi accent is American culture, alive, evolving, and beautifully diverse. Let's take a look at this report. Every year, America pauses for one simple idea: gratitude. And every year, millions of Indian immigrants gather around the table to embrace that idea wholeheartedly, not as visitors, not as outsiders, but as a contributing threads in the American story. This week, an essay in American Kahani captured this beautifully. It's titled Turkey with a Delhi Accent, and it shows how Indian immigrants don't just participate in Thanksgiving, they elevate it. They honor the tradition and then infuse it with their own heritage, their flavors, their joy. The author Neeta Mittal recalls her first Thanksgiving in Los Angeles, a young immigrant studying, working, building a new life. Like so many others who arrive with the ambition and humility in equal measure. She did not know the recipe. There were no instructions, no family precedent, just a desire to respect an American tradition and make it her own. So she did what Indian families do best. She embraced the new without letting go of the old. A traditional turkey, but marinated with ginger, garlic, Kashmiri chili. Mashed potatoes, uplifted with saffron. Pumpkin pie, kissed with cardamom. A perfect symbol of what Indian immigrants offer America. Continuity with creativity. Loyalty with individuality. At its heart, this is not a story about food. It is a story about values. Thanksgiving celebrates gratitude, family, togetherness. These are values Indian households know well. Values carried across oceans, across generations. So when Indian Americans celebrate Thanksgiving, they aren't changing the holiday. They're expanding it, adding color, flavor, warmth, rewriting it not out of rebellion, but out of belonging. And in that act, a deeper truth emerges. Immigrants don't dilute America. They deepen it. They take the shared rituals of this country and weave in their own memories, their spices, their stories, creating something richer, more layered, more inclusive. This is the real portrait of Indians in America. A community that adopts American traditions with respect, adds its own identity with confidence, and in doing so, strengthens the national fabric. A Thanksgiving with Delhi accent isn't a departure from American culture. It is American culture, alive, evolving, and beautifully diverse. Rohit Sharma for India Today Global. The CBI, the Central Bureau of Investigation, has cracked down on a sophisticated transnational cybercrime operation, busting an illegal call center in Lucknow that was targeting American citizens and arresting a key mastermind who had been on the run for months. Our top story tonight, the arrest of Vikas Kumar Nimar and the discovery of a sprawling fraud network spanning multiple Indian cities. Nimar, the alleged kingpin behind illegal call centers operating under the company DC Infometrics Private Limited, was arrested from his Lucknow residence on November 20th after evading authorities since September of 2024. The CBI had been tracking him since registering the case and conducting raids across Pune, Visakhapatnam, and Hyderabad last year. What investigators found paints a picture of an elaborate cybercrime operation. 14 lakh rupees in cash, multiple mobile phones, and trove of documents linking Nimar to systematic fraud targeting US nationals. But the investigation did not stop there. CBI officials uncovered yet another unauthorized call center being run by Nimar right in Lucknow. A search of that facility yielded 52 laptops loaded with incriminating digital evidence the digital smoking gun authorities believed was used to execute the fraud scheme. These illegal call centers have become a growing concern for law enforcement on both sides of the Pacific, with criminal networks using sophisticated tactics to deceive Americans out of their hard-earned money while operating thousands of miles away. The network allegedly set up operations in major Indian cities, Pune, Visakhapatnam, and Hyderabad, before expanding to Lucknow. Each location served as a hub for targeting vulnerable US citizens through phone scams operating under the guise of legitimate business operations. As investigators continue piecing together this transnational puzzle, the arrest of Vikas Kumar Nimar marks a significant victory in the fight against cybercrime, but also serves as a stark reminder of how organized and widespread these operations have become. At least 44 people are dead and hundreds missing after a massive fire engulfed multiple high-rise apartment buildings in a Hong Kong housing complex. 3 men have been arrested on manslaughter charges for alleged gross negligence. 7 of 8 buildings remain ablaze, with elderly residents trapped on upper floors in Hong Kong's deadliest fire in nearly 30 years. And that wraps up tonight's edition of Desi from DC. This is Rohit Sharma for India Today and India Today Global. And if you're watching this on India Today Global, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button before you leave. And as I always say, stay tuned, stay informed, and always stay curious. Thank you and have a good night.